Have you ever pondered the profound wealth disparity between black and white Americans? It's a query that steers us into the cold corridors of our past. Visualize early years of the United States, an era stamped by the cruel seizure and enslavement of African people. Think of the horrific transatlantic slave trade, a human tragedy that witnessed millions of Africans forcefully uprooted from their homeland and shipped across the Atlantic. Consider the brutal circumstances they survived, chained, robbed of their human rights, compelled to toil in the severest conditions. This remains a dark and distressing part of our history, setting the stage for centuries of prejudice and disparity. But amidst this grim history, a tough community arose, a community that has shown remarkable determination to rise, to fight, to convert the remnants of their painful past into the bedrock of a better tomorrow. From these ashes arose a community equipped with resilience and the will to ascend from their painful past. The Emancipation Proclamation marked a turning point, but was it truly the dawn of freedom? The Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 was a beacon of hope, promising an end to the horrific institution of slavery. However, the journey towards true freedom was far from over. The euphoria of emancipation was quickly dampened by the introduction of oppressive laws and practices aimed at maintaining racial hierarchy. The Jim Crow era, spanning from the late 19th to the mid-20th century, saw the implementation of laws that enforced racial segregation in the southern United States. These laws, under the guise of separate but equal, were anything but. They systematically marginalized black communities, making equality a distant dream. Public facilities, transportation, schools, and even drinking fountains were segregated. Black individuals were forced into substandard living conditions, denied access to quality education, and barred from voting through tactics like literacy tests and poll taxes. It was a blatant attempt to curtail the rights and freedoms of black Americans, creating yet another form of bondage. Yet despite the arduous landscape, black communities remained resilient. They strived for progress, for equality, for a life where the color of their skin wouldn't dictate their opportunities. They faced immense challenges, but they never lost sight of their pursuit of freedom. The struggle was real and the journey was long, but the spirit of resistance was alive. Through marches, protests, and legal battles, black communities fought against the oppressive system. Though the road was fraught with obstacles, the desire for liberation and equality was a powerful driving force. In the face of these challenges, black individuals made remarkable strides. They excelled in fields like science, art, sports, and more, proving that they were not defined by the color of their skin, but by their talents, their intellect, and their indomitable spirit. They broke barriers, shattered stereotypes, and proved that they were not just survivors, but achievers. Despite these barriers, black individuals carved out their place in society, making significant contributions across various fields. Their journey, their struggle, and their triumphs serve as a powerful testament to the resilience and determination inherent in the human spirit. History is replete with tales of black excellence, isn't it? Let's dive into some of these stories. When we talk about groundbreaking success, we cannot overlook Madam C.J. Walker. Born to former slaves, Walker went on to become the first female self-made millionaire in the United States. Her story is one of determination, resilience, and innovation. She built her empire on hair care products specifically designed for black women, a market that was largely ignored at the time. Her legacy is a testament to the power of entrepreneurship and the potential within the black community. But the list of black excellence doesn't stop there. It extends to inventors and innovators who have made significant contributions to the world. Take George Washington Carver, for instance. This agricultural scientist transformed the farming industry with his innovative uses of peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. His work not only revolutionized farming practices, but also provided economic opportunities for many African Americans in the South. In the realm of leadership, we see figures like Martin Luther King Jr., a beacon of hope and resilience during the civil rights movement. His impassioned speeches and nonviolent resistance played a pivotal role in advancing civil rights and equality. His legacy continues to inspire millions around the world. Then there's the story of Mae Jemison, the first black woman to travel in space. A physician, engineer, and NASA astronaut, Jemison's voyage aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 1992 opened doors for many young black women in the fields of science and technology. These are but a few examples of the many black individuals who have overcome tremendous odds to leave their mark on history. Their stories highlight the indomitable spirit and resilience inherent in the black community. They have paved the way for future generations, showing that adversity, while challenging, is not an insurmountable barrier to success or achievement. These remarkable achievements, however, stand in stark contrast to the current economic reality of the black community. Why does the black community, despite its resilience and hard work, represent the poorest demographic in the United States today? These words echo through the chambers of history, and to comprehend the depths of this paradox, we must reckon with a pervasive villain: systemic racism. Systemic racism operates like a silent saboteur, subtly and systematically undermining black wealth. It's an insidious web of discriminatory practices in housing, employment, and land ownership that have historically shackled black individuals from building wealth. Consider housing practices like redlining. This process, coined in the mid-20th century, involved delineating neighborhoods deemed high risk, often those housing racial minorities, on city maps in red ink. Banks would then deny loans or offer extortionate rates to residents of these areas. Simultaneously, white Americans were subsidized to move to the suburbs, creating a racial wealth chasm that has persisted for generations. The employment sector is not immune to this covert discrimination. Research has shown that resumes featuring black-sounding names receive fewer callbacks, a barrier that limits black Americans from securing well-paying jobs and climbing the economic ladder. Land ownership, a cornerstone of wealth accumulation, is another battlefield. Black individuals have been systematically dispossessed of their land through methods like heirs property, tax sales, and the Torrens Act. This practice has stripped black families of their wealth and their roots, further widening the racial wealth divide. These discriminatory practices are not isolated incidents but interwoven threads in the tapestry of systemic racism. They work in concert, each amplifying the other's impact, creating a cycle of poverty that is incredibly difficult to break. The result? A racial wealth gap that is not only vast but also stubbornly persistent. The cumulative effect of these injustices is a wealth gap that persists today, demanding urgent attention. It's a gap that tells a story not of individual failures, but of a system that has been rigged against black individuals for centuries. A system that has demanded twice the effort for half the reward. A system that, despite the resilience and hard work of the black community, has kept them in the shadows of poverty, but it's also a system that can and must change. How can we rectify centuries of injustice and close the racial wealth gap? This is a question that demands urgent attention in the quest for true equality. For starters, reparations offer an avenue to redress the imbalances caused by centuries of systemic racism. These aren't just about individual cash payments, though. That's certainly part of the equation. More importantly, reparations can provide wealth-building opportunities, helping black individuals and communities accumulate assets and establish intergenerational wealth. But the path forward doesn't end with reparations. It extends to targeted initiatives designed to address the disparities that disproportionately affect black communities. Take, for example, down payment grants. By providing these grants, we can make homeownership more accessible for black individuals, helping to combat the housing inequality that is so deeply entrenched in our society. Another potential solution is housing revitalization programs. These initiatives can help to uplift black communities that have been systematically disadvantaged by policies like redlining. By investing in the infrastructure and services of these communities, we can foster environments that promote prosperity and growth. But let's be clear, these solutions aren't just about throwing money at the problem, they're about changing the systems that perpetuate wealth inequality. They're about challenging the status quo, breaking down barriers, and creating an environment where opportunity is not dictated by the color of one's skin. This is no small task. It requires acknowledging the deep-seated racism that exists within our society and taking concrete steps to address it. It requires a commitment from all of us, from individuals to institutions, to do better. To be sure, these solutions are not exhaustive, and the path forward will not be easy. But the journey towards equality never has been. Just as Black individuals have shown resilience and strength in the face of adversity, so too must we all in tackling this monumental challenge. Only by acknowledging and addressing systemic racism can we work towards a future where true equality is a lived reality for all. In the face of adversity, the Black community has shown remarkable resilience. This resilience has been tested time and time again, from the echoes of enslavement to the persistent hurdles erected by systemic racism. Yet, the community has continued to rise with stories of triumph and achievement that defy the odds. In the face of discriminatory policies and practices, Black individuals have made strides across various fields, breaking barriers and setting precedents. However, the stark reality of the wealth gap underscores the urgency of systemic change. This change must address the seeds of inequality sown by redlining, job market discrimination, and unjust land ownership policies. It must also pave the way for reparations and wealth-building initiatives that provide a fair shot at prosperity for the Black community. Thank you for joining this journey through history. Let's strive to create a future where equality is not just an ideal, but a lived reality. Remember to subscribe and like for more thought-provoking content.